The Coalition Outpost Cafe sat at the edge of the Andromeda Gateway, a crystalline structure that hummed with the energy of 1,000 jumping ships. Noah pushed through the airlock doors at 0600 hours, just like he had every morning for the past 3 months. Elizabeth stood behind the counter, her feline ears twitching at the sound of his entrance. She was Felinar, one of the first species to make contact with humanity after Earth joined the Galactic Coalition. Her silver-striped fur caught the blue light of the twin suns outside, and her amber eyes, those impossible vertically slitted eyes, fixed on him with practiced indifference. "Welcome to Coalition Cafe," she said, her tail swishing behind her with mechanical precision. "What can I get started for you today?" Noah suppressed a smile. They'd been doing this dance for 93 days. 93 days of her pretending she didn't know exactly what he wanted. "Double espresso," he said, leaning against the counter. "Extra hot. 2 pumps of vanilla syrup topped with cinnamon, not cocoa." Her whiskers twitched, almost imperceptibly, but Noah had learned to read the subtle tells. "And your name for the order?" "You know my name, Elizabeth." "Protocol requires I ask, sir." Her clawed fingers hovered over the holographic interface, waiting. "Noah. Noah." She typed it in with exaggerated slowness, as if she hadn't written his name on a cup every single day since he'd arrived at the outpost. As if his order wasn't already programmed into the system under favorites. He'd seen it once when she thought he wasn't looking, the little red heart icon next to his profile. The thing about humanity that confused most alien species was their persistence. Their absolute maddening refusal to give up on anything they set their minds to. The Felinar were elegant, efficient, graceful. They valued precision and emotional control. Humans were chaos, beautiful, infuriating chaos that the galaxy was still trying to understand. Noah was patient. He'd waited 3 years in deep space reconnaissance before this posting. He could wait for a Catwoman barista to admit she'd memorized his coffee order. "That'll be 7 credits, Elizabeth said, her voice perfectly neutral. "You charged me $6.50 yesterday. Prices fluctuate with the intergalactic market. The sign says $6.50. Her ears flattened slightly. "Then $6.50 it is." He transferred the credits, their fingertips brushing briefly as the transaction completed. Her fur was impossibly soft, warmer than he'd expected. She pulled back quickly, turning to the espresso machine with practiced efficiency. The morning rush began to filter in, Quarians with their translucent skin, Vorlaxians towering at 8 feet, even a few other humans from the diplomatic corps. Elizabeth served them all with the same professional detachment, never missing a beat, never forgetting an order even when customers fumbled through unfamiliar Earth beverage terminology. She was extraordinary at her job. The cafe had a 5-star rating across 17 species review platforms. But with Noah, she maintained this elaborate pretense, this theatrical ignorance that fooled absolutely no one. "Double espresso for Noah," she called out, though he was standing right in front of her, though he was the only customer at the counter. He took the cup, felt its perfect temperature through the biodegradable sleeve. The cinnamon was sprinkled in a pattern, not random, never random with Elizabeth. Today it formed a small constellation, one he recognized from Earth's night sky. Orion's belt. "Interesting design," he said casually. "Standard presentation." She was already wiping down the counter, not meeting his eyes. "It's Orion. I'm not familiar with human astronomy. You served a Terran delegation for 2 hours yesterday. I saw you discussing Earth's constellation patterns with Ambassador Chen." Her tail puffed slightly, annoyance or maybe amusement. With Felinar, it was hard to tell. "Coincidence," she said. Noah took a sip. Perfect, as always. The exact temperature. He preferred the precise balance of bitter and sweet. She'd even adjusted the foam density, something she'd only started doing 3 weeks ago after he'd mentioned once in passing to another customer that he preferred a thicker crema. She'd been listening. She was always listening. "Same time tomorrow?" he asked. "We're open 26 hours, 7 days a cycle. You may come whenever you wish." "But you work the morning shift." "I work various shifts depending on staffing needs. You've worked 600 every day since I arrived. Elizabeth's ears flattened completely now. Perhaps you should spend less time monitoring my schedule and more time at your actual posting. Security Officer Reeves. So she knew his rank, his full name. She'd looked him up. Noah grinned, that very human expression that showed teeth, something most species found threatening, but which made Elizabeth's pupils dilate just slightly. See you tomorrow, Elizabeth, same order. I'll need you to tell me what that is when you arrive. No, you won't. He left before she could respond, but not before catching the smallest smile playing at the corners of her mouth, her fangs just barely visible. The next morning, Noah arrived at I-600 to find his drink already made, sitting on the counter with his name written in Elizabeth's elegant script. Below it, she'd drawn another constellation, Cassiopeia, the queen who boasted too much and was punished for her pride. Elizabeth stood at the far end of the counter, deliberately not looking at him, her tail swishing with barely contained smugness. You made my order, Noah said, picking up the cup. A regular customer arrived early. Efficiency protocols. You made my exact order before I said a word. Lucky guess. With the right constellation again. Pattern recognition software malfunction. Noah laughed, that warm human sound that filled the cafe and made several alien patrons turn in confusion. You're terrible at pretending. I have no idea what you're talking about, Elizabeth said. But her ears were perked forward now, her whiskers angled in what Noah had learned meant happiness in Felinar body language. Tomorrow? He asked. Perhaps, she said, and this time she looked directly at him, those amber eyes holding his with an intensity that made his heart race. But you'll still have to tell me your order. No, I won't. Yes, you will. We'll see. They both knew he wouldn't. They both knew she'd have it ready perfect and waiting with another constellation drawn in cinnamon foam, a message in the universal language of coffee and celestial patterns. Because humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their combat prowess or their diplomatic skill. It was this, their ability to be stubborn about the things that mattered, to pursue connection with the same intensity they brought to exploring the stars. And Elizabeth, despite her best efforts to remain professionally aloof, was learning that some human customs were worth adopting. Even the ridiculous ones, especially the ridiculous ones,